John Contreras. I'm coming to you from Los Angeles. Today is the 11th of July, 2017. The time here is 6:16 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. This is John Contreras reporting for the Greek news blog, GreekNewsOnDemand.com. That is GreekNewsOnDemand.com. That's one word, GreekNewsOnDemand.com. This show is being primarily done for UCY.TV, for the Great Patriot Radio Network, UCY.TV, as you can see it on your screen right here. Okay? Check it out. You have some fantastic speakers whose shows are regularly played on this great internet radio network. And I thank the owner and, of course, the whole staff there for the opportunity to speak there every Saturday, 2 p.m. Here's my show, GreekNewsOnDemand.com. You can see it on your screens. My show is aired every Saturday at 2 p.m., okay, Pacific Standard, 5 p.m. New York Standard Time, Eastern Standard Time, okay? All you got to do here is click on schedules, shows, all right, as you can see it on your screens, all right? We got Anti-Media Show. We got the Barbarian Lounge. We have Truth on the Tracks with Brandon Tuberville. I know Brandon. We're friends on Facebook. I've helped publish some of his articles before on Syria. Very revealing articles. He's a great guy. There's the Corbett Report. Okay? Another great show, and so on and so forth. So, please check out what you're seeing here on your screens. All these fantastic radio shows, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? You will not be disappointed because there you have people from different vocational fields, researchers, activists, scholars who speak on this network, and they offer us basically the best information, the best intel on the New World Order and what it is doing to our world, and how we need to rise up and, of course, take our world back. So, again, this is John Contreras. My news blog is GreekNewsOnDemand.com, as you can see it on your screens. Okay? We publish mostly in Greek because it is a news blog that is designed to help wake up the Greek people and save the nation of Greece. Okay? And as a Greek American, I see it as my duty to help basically contribute to this struggle for the freedom of the Greek people. And I've been in this struggle for 10 years now. Here are two sections we have here in English. English Articles 1, English Articles 2. All you got to do is just click on them, and it'll take you to the English articles. Okay, as you can see on your screens right now. All right. We have a lot of issues to cover. I'm going to try to not cover too many topics at once. What I'd like to talk about, though, is two big topics that are brewing right now with activists, with the internet, of course with mainstream news media too. Because as you know, the mainstream news media is getting jealous of all the real journalists and the real activists out there, ladies and gentlemen. That's why they've been covering conspiracy theories. They've been covering things like the flat earth, and so on and so forth. Okay? So, basically what I'd like to do is cover a little bit about what's going on with the internet nowadays, with all these activists and the things that they're involved with, okay? And see how this ties in with Greece and how it's affecting Greece. You can find me here on Facebook, John Contreras. Here I am. All right. So basically, the Greek people, I could tell you right now, we are some of the biggest trolls on the internet. We troll the internet day and night, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? When you're in some, like, YouTube channel and, you know, it's getting hundreds of thousands of views, millions of views, and it's covering, let's say, a very interesting topic, a conspiracy topic, you're going to see a lot of Greek people right there in the thick of it. I can tell you that right now. Okay? If you want to check out my personal channel, I am John Contreras here, okay, on YouTube. My personal website is johncontreras.com, JOHNKOUN as in Nancy, T as in Tom, OURIS. So, if you need more information about me, you can always go back to ucy.tv, and there's more information there for me, about me. So anyway, what's going on with the internet? Well, the internet is exploding like never before, ladies and gentlemen, okay? The internet is, inundated with researchers out there, whether they're conspiracy theorists, independent journalists, or just curious people. Because something's taking place. There's an awakening taking place, and people are wanting to find out the truth. Okay? They're wanting to find out the truth. So basically, this is something, ladies and gentlemen, where, the government, the mainstream news media is actually having to address, believe it or not. Okay? The government and the mainstream news media, for the first time, are being forced to address, okay, this sort of waking up experience that millions of people are having around the world, where they're questioning everything that the mainstream news media, the government, of course, and, the educational system has taught us for decades and decades. And so what I like to cover really quick is a topic about the flat earth, okay? Because it's a really, really huge topic. And, it's something where people just, they're starting to become obsessed with. They're starting to become obsessed with, ladies and gentlemen. So I thought it would be really good if I would touch on it here and how it relates to Greece. So basically, for the first time ever, you now have the media, the government, and the educational system having to, okay, and other, of course, big institutions in the government, of course, like NASA, having to address all these quote-unquote conspiracy theorists and their theories for the first time ever, okay? And the way that they're addressing them is just like shocking. It's like they're really, really struggling now to cover up, okay, this conspiracy of the flat earth, because the earth is indeed flat, ladies and gentlemen. On a side note, I happen to be the first Greek journalist to go on Greek TV and expose this. I started doing this in January of this year. So I basically have been researching the flat earth, I think, since like December of last year, if I'm not mistaken. And I got heavy into the topic, and I'm learning a lot more every day, just like a lot of people are out there. I mean, just type in flat earth inside, anywhere, okay? Any search engine out there. And basically, you're going to see how this is something that is just really, really preoccupying people's time. In a good way, I would say. Just type in flat earth, as I'm doing right now, right? In Google, right? All right, so you're going to see tons and tons of articles being written about this, right? You're going to see some of the articles I've written about this. This is, of course, from my own Google search history. Okay, I recently wrote an article about this and tied it in with the ancient Greeks, and this is really important here because what people have to understand is that the ancient Greeks were the one who started the full flat Earth business, believe it or not. So I'm addressing this again, okay, because this is an important topic. The media, the government, NASA are addressing it, okay? Their official spokesmen are coming out now and trying to refute it, all right? And, of course, this is tying in with Greece. And my job is to tie in what goes on around the world with Greece. And I thereby demonstrate to people that really the big conspiracy here is nothing more than a conspiracy to destroy the Hellenic, meaning the Greek roots of Western civilization. And this all started back, ladies and gentlemen, with the fall of the Greek Christian Byzantine Empire in 1453 to the Ottoman Turks, world Jewry, and the black nobility from Venice. So this is what I specialize in pretty much. This is what I expose, okay? If you'd like to read more about all this, if you'd like to read the book I wrote about this, type in Google Hellenic Crisis. That's that's two words. Hellenic Crisis by John Contreras, as you're seeing it on your screen. Again, my last name is spelled Koun as in Nancy, T as in Tom, Ouris. Okay, so you click on the first link here. Okay. Hellenic Crisis, a conspiracy against the Greek people. Okay, by John Contreras. All right, so this is the book. It's $10. All right, and it goes to help finance what I do. Now, I appear on Greek mainstream TV and radio, but I don't get paid for it because Greeks are cheap, number one. Number two, they're in a crisis, so they don't have money anyway. So, here's a video, by the way, I made about this. So I'm going to just play it really quick. It has to do with my book. And, you know, it's where I pretty much, you know, explain all this.
Hello, everyone. This is John Contreras, and I'm just video about my new book, Hellenic Crisis, which goes into detail just how this Hellenic crisis happened, starting from up until today. I am an author, a journalist, and I am also a professional Greek translator. I have a blog, 300sbloggers.com, as you can see it right here, and there is where I publish all my articles. My main website is johncontouris.com, JOHNKOUNTOURIS.com, as you can see here on your screen too. There you can see more about me and what I do. You can see about other books that I've written. You can see about Greek media that I'm involved with. For example, I write for one of the biggest Greek newspapers in all of Greece called The Free Hour. In Greek, it's Eleftheri Ora. Anyway, I think you'll find my book very interesting because I believe it is probably the most extensive and most detailed and most accurate book on the Greek economic crisis. It goes into major details that the mainstream media won't tell you about. I also quote some of the best journalists, Greek politicians, authors, and researchers on the subject. I also quote people directly from Elstat, the Greek organization that handles the Greek debt, and there you'll find out the truth about how it actually bulged to the limit, to the size that it is today, etc., etc. Anyway, you can check it out. It's available on smashwords.com. That's SMASHWORDS.com, or you can find it on Amazon.com. Hellenic Crisis by John Contreras. Thank you.
Okay, so basically that was just my little teaser, whatever, trailer that I made about it. But it is available also on Amazon.com, as you can see on your screens, and I offer the best material on how it all happened, because this material, ladies and gentlemen, I don't just make it up out of my head. I'm a Greek journalist. I have my sources, which come from the Greek government, okay, straight from the Greek government, which come from Greek journalists, okay, very well-known Greek journalists in Greece that I cooperate with. My sources are the best. If you want to know the truth about what's going on in Greece, read that book. Get that book on smashwords.com or on amazon.com. I can't get into details about all my sources, but I could tell you this, my sources you will not find anywhere else. No Harvard business professor, none of those so-called experts on economic matters they will never tell you the stuff that I have, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? Because my stuff comes directly from the source. So, so basically, the whole issue with the fall of humanity starts with the fall, like I was saying before, of the great Christian Greek Byzantine Empire. Okay? So, anyway, besides all that, what I want to just basically talk about now is how, this major topic, the flat earth, like many other topics out there, like, let's say, for example, the world economic crisis, how they tie in and affect Greece, and how they affect us in general. Because this is important. Because, people always want to know, well, gee, what's this all about, how does this affect us? Okay? That's the word, that's that's what everyone always says. Wow, this doesn't affect me, or how does this affect me, or this or that, or whatever. So anyway, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in right now. I see the people making comments right now. Thank you very much. So, hello to my Greek friends, Yasos Pedia. So anyway, how does this affect us? Well, it affects us deeply, ladies and gentlemen, because everything in this world affects all of us, okay? But how does the flat earth topic tie in with Greece? First of all, people need to understand this, that, and you can see an article I just published about this, by the way, the ancient Greeks who supported the flat earth, you'll be shocked. Check out that article on our news site, GreekNewsOnDemand.com. The ancient Greeks who supported the flat earth, you'll be shocked. Okay. Number one, okay? You got to understand, the Greeks gave you everything. Okay? That is a fact. All right? No one can dispute. The Greeks have provided everything for Western civilization, ladies and gentlemen. All right? The language you speak today, it came from the Greeks. The maps that you read came from the Greeks. Okay? The this, that, and everything else, mathematics, architecture, okay, came from the Greeks. All right? All the elite have stolen everything from the Greeks. The black nobility from Venice in the 1400s developed a school based on Aristotelian logic. They spoke ancient Greek there. Okay? We're talking about the people who formed the basis for the Illuminati, which of course would be founded in 1776. The New World Order, okay, particularly the very powerful Zionist Jews, they have stolen many of the Greeks' secrets over the centuries. That is a fact. Okay? So basically I, as the first Greek journalist to come on Greek TV to talk about this, okay, I deem it necessary to basically talk about this also on American media, talk about it on YouTube, talk about it on this great Patriot Radio Network, UCY.TV, okay? And this show I'm doing right now is being aired live on YouTube, but it also will be aired on UCY.TV this Saturday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So for those that are tuning in right now, don't forget to tune in. Just go and type in www.ucy.tv, as you can see it right now, okay? And there you're going to basically see all the shows that are played there, the schedule, the shows, the speakers.
Trying to fill that thing up and then getting into the truck.
You can hear, you can hear it right now, okay? You can hear people speaking right now. There's a lot of shows that are being played, of course, on that network around the clock, so check it out. So basically, I, as a Greek journalist, had to chime into this discussion. All right? So the first thing that people have to understand, ladies and gentlemen, is that, it was the ancient Greeks who started this whole business, like I said before. Why? Well, the Greeks, ladies and gentlemen, are the ones, okay, that designed the first map of the world. Okay? Who was that? That was none other than Anaximandros, okay? Anaximandros, as we're going to see in this article, all right? So Anaximandros was the student of Thales. Thales. Okay? Thales, Thales in Greek, was the first Greek philosopher. All right? Anaximandros made the first map of the Earth, which happens to show the Earth is flat. And I don't really hear too many people talking about this on the flat Earth community because a lot of people are just lambasting Pythagoras being the first Mason and this and that because, you know, he's the guy who started talking about the ball Earth, all right? But I don't hear them talking about the score of Greeks that actually were the ones who gave us, okay? Who gave us the first map of the Earth, which, of course, shows the Earth is flat. Again, that was Anaximandros, the student of Thales, all right? So basically, you go on Google Images, and you look at all these photos, all these images of the flat Earth, okay? So just know that the flat Earth map was inspired by the Greeks, all right? See a lot of pretty maps here, all right? You can check all that out, of course, on Google, all right? And if you don't know about the flat Earth and the flat Earth map, start studying it because it's really going to wake you up to the real conspiracy here. And I'll discuss a little bit before I end this topic on this show. I'll discuss a little bit about how, of course, this ties in with the New World Order, how it affects us all. So just read this article as I showed you before, okay? It was written originally by, okay, it was written by a PhD student, okay, in a forum. He didn't want to mention his name or anything, all right? But he wrote this article to try to disprove, okay, the flat Earth theory. But in reality, all he does is just help to prove it, all right? So, in the beginning, of course, he talks about Hesiod and Homer, okay? Homer and Hesiod both talked about the flat Earth, ladies and gentlemen, okay? You know, for example, he writes here, the two earliest Greek poets, Hesiod and Homer, both were flat Earth believers, and their cosmology models both were based on a flat disk surrounded by a world-encompassing ocean called Oceanus, quote-unquote. This is expressed no more clearly than by Hesiod himself in a passage of his lesser-known ascribed work called the Shield of Hercules. So, on page 314 to 316, all right, that's where the meat of the matter is. That's where the juice is. So there we can see quotes, for example, where he says, and round the rim ocean was flowing with a full steam as it seemed, and enclosed all the cunning work of the shield. Over it swans were soaring and calling out loudly, and many others were swimming upon the surface of the water, and near them were shoals of fish. Okay? So here he's describing the Earth as a flat shield, all right, and the big ocean surrounding it. All right, this already sounds like the flat Earth. Hesiod thus believed the Earth was like a flat shield, with an ocean fully surrounding the shield's rim. In his Theogony, or Theogony, okay, in Greek Theogonia, written in 700 BC, a detailed flat Earth cosmography is also present, starting with the creation account. So basically, he says some pretty poetic stuff here. He says, verily, as the first chaos came to be, chaos with a capital C, but next, wide-bosomed earth, capital E, the ever-sure foundations of all the deathless ones who hold the peaks of snowy Olympus and dim Tartarus in the depth of the wide-pathed earth, and Eros, meaning the goddess of love, the god of love, fairest among the deathless gods, who unnerves the limbs and overcomes the mind with wise counsels of all gods and all men within them. From chaos came forth Erebus and Black Night, night with an N, with a capital N. But of night were born Aether, meaning the ether, and day, both with, of course, capital A and capital D, whom she conceived and bare from union in love with Erebus. And earth first bare starry heaven, equal to herself. This is very key here, okay? To cover her on every side and to be an ever sure abiding place for the blessed gods, as she brought forth long heels, graceful haunts of the goddess nymphs, who dwell amongst the glens of the hills. She bare also the fruitless deep with his raging swell Pontus, okay, with a capital P, without sweet union of love, but afterwards she lay with heaven, capital H, and bare deep swirling Oceanus, capital O. Okay? What you see here is a geodetic, geocentric, okay, Earth being described by Hesiod, ladies and gentlemen. This is pretty amazing stuff here, okay? He's basically associating the heaven with Earth, saying they're intertwined with each other, okay? That in itself is amazing. And of course, he talks about ether. The ether, ladies and gentlemen. In Greek, ether. The ether. Okay? There's the starry heaven. If you know anything about the flat earth, you'll understand that basically it's the ether, all right, that is the whole crux of the matter, actually. Okay? Because all these experiments, basically, that were conducted from the 1800s on into the turn of the century, confirm that we live in a geocentric world, not a heliocentric. So the Sagnac experiment, the Michelson-Morley experiment, okay, the Bedford-Level experiment, all these experiments, what they did is verify the Earth is motionless, okay, and is, of course, not spinning, and so on and so forth, that it's flat, in a nutshell. So what Hesiod does is confirm all this, because what he talks about here is the ether. Now, what the Sagnac, the Michelson-Morley experiment did was confirm that there's an ether. And the ether is like this cosmic soup that swirls around within the dome of the Earth that covers the Earth, which, of course, we cannot pierce. We cannot leave Earth, ladies and gentlemen. That's not me saying that. That is the Defense Department with their World Geodetic System 84. Look up the World Geodetic System 84. Just the fact that they even use the term geodetic says it all. That means geocentric. Okay? That ties in with the GPS model. Okay? It is a point of reference. It's a reference system. Okay? That the GPS model uses. Okay? Google all those terms, and you'll see exactly what I mean. And after you Google those terms in, put in flat Earth. So Google World Geodetic System, okay? Flat Earth. That's it. World Geodetic System, flat Earth, and you'll see what I mean. So basically, what these experiments did was prove all this. They proved also, of course, like I was saying before, that the ether does exist, okay? And basically, what it is the cosmic, let's say, for example, soup that rotates around the Earth, okay, every 24 hours, meaning the stars, the moon, the sun, etc., etc., etc. That's what pretty much the ether is. Tesla, the greatest scientists in modern era, confirmed the ether. He talked about the ether, okay, and so on and so forth. What happened was when all these experiments proved that the Earth is motionless, okay, meaning it's flat, the scientific community freaked out and hired Einstein to create the theory of relativity, okay, to try to disprove it. Well, all he did was create a theory, ladies and gentlemen. And what he did was he ignored all modern scientific findings about the Earth being motionless, all right? He designs this theory of relativity sort of mathematical, equation. But what he does is he removes the factor of the ether. The ether, up until that point, had been proven. The ancient Greeks talked about the ether, for crying out loud. Well, Einstein just decides to remove it, okay? And if he said that it doesn't exist, then it doesn't exist. I mean, my God, up till today, up until today, ladies and gentlemen, to date, no scientist has ever pretty much dared to refute officially all these aforementioned experiments that prove the Earth is pretty much flat. Okay, none of them. They've never addressed them because they can't. Okay, they just can't. So you have the ancient Greeks, talking about the ether. I mean, So if you want to talk about the flat Earth, you got to talk about the Greeks. That's what I'm trying to tell you here. They're the ones that started this business, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, we crazy Greeks, we started this. So thanks to everyone right now who's tuning in. I see there's a lot of comments there. So anyway, what I'd also like to do is go over a little bit what I was talking about before. I mentioned Homer. I mentioned Hesiod. Okay. Also, too, you got to realize, too, Homer himself in both the Iliad and the Odyssey described the Earth as a flat shield, and around it is the great ocean. Okay? I mean, my God. Some of the greatest Greek philosophers, historians, etc., said all this. So, with regards to the philosophers, the earliest Greek philosopher, Thales, was a flat Earth believer. Thales founded the Milesian school of thought in the early 6th century BC. And Anaximander, who, as noted, created the first world map, okay, was a student. All right? That just says it all. All right? That just says it all. So, the first map of the Earth, like I said before, okay, was done by a Greek. So all you got to do is just type in flat Earth Anaximander, or flat Earth, not globe, flat Earth Anaximander, okay, and you're going to see his map. Here it is right here. Look at that. Isn't that something? Now, you want to hear some really crazy stuff? There are people in the flat Earth community that actually agree with this map and say this is the real map. For example, the biggest flat Earth researcher out there, Eric Dubé, has said he does not trust any map. He says, all we have right now is the flat Earth map to go by. Okay, great, he says. All right, here it is right here on your screen. But he goes, even that might not be showing us the full truth about our flat Earth that we live in. So he likes to point out this map here, which is actually, that's Anaximander's map. That's the first. You're looking at the first map of the world, ladies and gentlemen, by a Greek, right? There's another map that's associated with this. I can't remember the name right now, but he refers to that too, which looks like Anaximander's map. So he says that might actually be the real map, okay? Which is very, very interesting to say the least, okay? So why is this all important? Why should we pay attention to this? Okay? Well, I mean, it's pretty simple. If they're telling you a lie about the shape of the Earth that we live in, that's pretty monumental, isn't it? What else could they be lying about? Like everything else, right? So that's the reason why we need to cover the flat Earth, because it's a major monumental conspiracy that ties in with the general New World Order conspiracy. Okay? That has been going on against humanity for a long time now, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? So, it started with the fall of the great Greek Christian Byzantine Empire in 1453. That is a fact. That's Eustace Mullins, the greatest New World Order researcher and author, stating that, whose successor happens to be yours truly. It's a long story, and I've talked about this before on this radio network. Ezra Pound, the great poet and author, okay, revealed all this. Mullins was Ezra Pound's last successor. When the great Christian Greek Byzantine Empire fell, all of Christian Europe fell into darkness, ladies and gentlemen. I find it pretty interesting that up until that point, okay, the whole world believed the Earth was flat. Flat. I don't know how many decades it was later on. It was about 1550, actually about 100 years later. Who comes onto the scene? Copernicus. But you got to remember, all of Christianity, both the East and the West, okay, the Catholics and the Orthodox believe the earth was frickin' flat. The official teaching of the Orthodox Church is that the earth is flat. Okay? Most people don't realize that. Even Greeks themselves, unfortunately. And I go on Greek TV and I do shows on YouTube. Basically I talk about all this stuff. And, people just, Greeks I'm talking about, freak out. Why? Don't you realize every time you walk into an Orthodox cathedral, let's look at St. Sophia in Los Angeles, the biggest Greek Orthodox cathedral in Northwest America, at least. Here it is. Over here in Los Angeles on Pico and Normandy. That's where my parents got married. Εκεί παντρεύτηκαν οι γονείς μου. That's where my parents got married. Okay? So, look at it. What do you see? Domes. The big dome. In Greek we say tholos. Every time you walk into the church, you lift up your head when you're inside the church. You lift up your head, and what do you see? The great dome in the ceiling. Here you're looking at some images here where it depicts that, okay? You're looking at the great dome, right? Well, what is this dome? That's the firmament. It's described in Genesis. God put in the firmament, not in space, but in the firmament, the great lights. Okay? Meaning the sun, moon, and the stars. Who's that at the top? Why, that's none other than the cosmocrat. Jesus Christ. In Greek we say kosmokrator. Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. Right? He's right above that dome, looking down on us all, wondering, when are these people going to repent and wake up? Okay? Here it is. Now, why was this particular architecture implemented into all, I repeat, all Orthodox churches worldwide? Why? Look at this dome here. My God, this is amazing. This is something else, man. This is, wow. Look, why was a dome implemented into the architecture? Does anyone know why? Would you like to know why? Does anyone care? Do my English-speaking Greek friends out there, do they care? Because, ladies and gentlemen, it was the great Byzantine Emperor Justinian who designed this when he was designing the great Cathedral St. Sophia, which still exists today. It's in Constantinople. Now, those dirty little Turks over there, they like to call it Istanbul, okay? I don't really have a problem with the term Istanbul because it's a Greek term anyway. In Greek, it's estin ipolis, which means it is the city, all right? But nevertheless, we're going to keep it as Constantinople because it's ours. It belongs to us, all right? It's a long story. The great Western powers did not want us to take it back because they knew if the Greeks would take it back, we'd become almighty, all-powerful again, and we'd take over the world, okay? They don't like it when we start getting too, let's say, nationalistically minded. They get kind of peeved and afraid, and they start working to overthrow any type of any Greek government, any Greek leader who would dare to even mention this, okay? They've been doing it for years and years, over 100 years, by the way. That Asia Minor catastrophe, right? All right? Those Armenian and Greek genocides, right? Okay. You know who did those? That was the West. They allowed the Turks, okay, to butcher and slaughter those Christian populations, particularly us Greeks, okay? They were behind it. All you got to do is read the book, The Destruction of a City, 1922, by Marjorie Dobkin House, I believe that's the full name. She is a Armenian scholar, and she wrote the best, most extensive book on the subject, and no one can refute it. All right? So, When you walk into, going back to the Greek Orthodox Church, when you walk in there, you see a big dome, okay? Justinian believed the earth was flat, just like the rest of the church did. There were some arguments in the church, okay, for hundreds and hundreds of years about this topic, but the main belief was that the earth was flat, okay? So, Justinian, okay, during his era, had a huge debate, very heated debate, with certain elements in the Orthodox Church that were trying to introduce something that was not, of course, biblical, okay? And he pretty much kicked all their asses. He designed a church that is modeled after the biblical model, end of story. He designed the church, the modern-day Greek church, with the dome above, implemented into the architecture of the building, which represents the firmament in which God placed the sun, the moon, the stars, etc. The ether, okay? So, we still today have the same type of church, okay? The flat earth, okay, reality is screaming at us Greeks every time we walk into church. It's screaming at Russian, Romanian, okay? All these other Orthodox groups out there, okay? So, we Greeks maintain flat earth truth for 2,000 years. We're still doing it, even though a lot of Greeks out there don't believe the earth is, of course, flat. They believe it's round. Why? Because they've been influenced by the world. Okay? Their belief system has been watered down because the New World Order's here. It's teaching us something different. Now think about this. Think about this very carefully. 500 years ago, roughly 500, over 500 years ago, the Greek Byzantine Empire fell, right? After that, Europe was plunged into the darkness of the European Enlightenment, quote unquote, where the basis for communism was first laid. Okay, that's when the forces of darkness in Europe began to whittle away at the influence of Christianity in Europe. Okay, about 500 years later, Copernicus comes onto the scene. He introduces the solar system model. He tells the Catholic Church there's a solar system, there's space and there's planets. The Catholic Church, being the reprobates that they were, particularly, of course, the hierarchy, all right, because, of course, they veered from fellowship with the Orthodox Church by splitting with us in 1054. What do? They adopt this model. To date, ladies and gentlemen, the Catholic Church and NASA own all the big telescopes around the world, including the telescope Lucifer. Just Google Lucifer. You'll see who owns that telescope, ladies and gentlemen. Lucifer, okay? It's called Lucifer. It's one of the biggest telescopes in the world. Gee, isn't that something? So basically, the Catholic Church, which did not help the Greeks when they're being attacked by the Ottoman Empire in 1453, they did not send us any help. Okay, our Catholic brothers in the West, our brothers, quote unquote, did not come and help us. They left us to our own fate so we could be attacked and, of course, enslaved for 400 years by the Ottoman Turks. If that doesn't tell you something about the Catholics, okay, how much they really loved us. Honestly, seriously, I mean, this is such a huge, huge topic for centuries now, and I don't hear anyone talking about it. A few, like, Orthodox scholars would talk about it, but does academia really even talk about it? How the West screwed us and allowed us to go into slavery for 400 years with the Turks? No. So, basically, from that point on, the world slowly starts believing that, you know, the earth is a ball. Well, you know, your everyday layperson really did not start being influenced by all this garbage until about the 1920s onto the 30s. Okay? So anyway, it's a huge topic, but this ties in with the Greeks, like I said, and of course it ties in with the general New World Order conspiracy, which is, and here's the punchline, to rob us from our true divine self. Because if you live in a heliocentric model, you're living in a model, ladies and gentlemen, designed by Satanists, New World Order frickin' psychopaths, Zionist Jews, who teach the ball earth theory in the Zohar, their demonic religious book. Their ideas influenced Europe for hundreds and hundreds of years. You've got to realize that. That's precisely why Christian nations kicked them out of their nations 109 times on record from the 4th century on into the turn of the century. A period of about 1,500 frickin' years. All right? But NASA today espouses the Jewish Kabbalah. Okay? Michio Kaku, this famous Japanese scientist, Michio Kaku, talks about this. He says, it's amazing how everything NASA believes ties in, of course, with the Kabbalah. Okay? That's pretty much what he said recently. And that's what many other people in NASA have said. Okay? They're teaching you the demonic Jewish Kabbalah. Okay? Which teaches the baller theory. Now, those are the Khazar satanic Jews that are teaching you that. The Jews from the Old Testament teach you the earth is flat. Because God gave them that theory. Okay? Which isn't a theory, it's the truth. God inspired them and said, this is how the earth is. All you got to do, of course, is look into the New Testament too, where in Revelation 20, chapter 20, verse 9, Gog and Magog are being mentioned by John the Revelator, and he says Gog and Magog like came out of the abyss, and they came onto the wide, flat breadth of the earth. The wide, flat breadth of the earth. He described the earth as flat. The ancient Greek word is platos, where we get the word plateau from. Okay? Platos is a gigantic, wide, flat surface that has edges, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? So, this is important for us to analyze because when you live in a heliocentric model, you're living in a New World Order model. Everything revolves around the sun. This dates back to the ancient worship of the sun, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, they worship the sun. These Satanists. They want you to worship the sun and not God. Okay? They want to tell you the sun's at the center of the universe, but not our earth, which God created. And God said that the moon, the sun, and the stars rotate around the earth. I mean, there's tons of Bible verses where it says this. Okay? That the ether rotates around, above and around the earth day and night. The sun and the moon and the stars. So, you know, all you got to do is do a little Bible study and you'll find out what the truth is. So, you know, God, ladies and gentlemen, my point is, put us and our earth at the center of our world. Okay? You are not, the universe is nothing more than you. Okay? If you want to, you know, get down to the nitty gritty. You are the universe and the universe is you. We all make up the universe. Okay? Our collective thoughts and energies make up the energy that's out there in the ether. That's why we attract what we attract through our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions, and our words. We make up our own reality in the space-time, let's say, if you want to call it that, continuum. All right, there is no space. You see, we can't get away from these terms that we've used, like atmosphere and things like that. We'll still use those terms, I guess, because, you know, the atmosphere, let's say, is within the curved dome. So I don't really have a problem myself using it. But within this finite, okay, space-time continuum, space, let's just say, the space which we live in here on Earth, we as human beings can be, do, and have whatever we want. We can make up our own reality because this is the way God created us. This is the truth. The moment people realize this, they're going to realize, oh my God, we're put on this earth to be God. To represent and reflect His glory here on earth. By being, doing, and having whatever, by living free, etc., etc. God put us on this little freaking model here on earth, this little toy model earth, and made all these little toy figurines to be like Him. Isn't that something? That's what they don't want you to know, because the moment you realize that, their whole demonic agenda flushes down the toilet, and they can't control you anymore. Isn't that something? Okay? The scientific community, even William Shatner himself, who played in Star Trek, are now starting to admit all of this, ladies and gentlemen. You know, the big, well-known government scientist Neil deGrasse Tyson has revised the Earth. He says it is now an oblate spheroid. Do you realize what that means? Oblate spheroid? Meaning the Earth has flattened out a little bit at its corners. What? It was Bill Nye, the science guy, who said recently, several years ago, that we live in an enclosed system. We cannot leave the Earth. recently about maybe 2013, 2012, I can't remember. A scientist live on air basically said, and I've published it, and you can find it too if you YouTube it. He basically said, we cannot fly out of Earth's orbit. They're telling you we cannot leave the Earth. Okay? So, God put us here to do work on Earth for Him, to reflect His glory, and when we die, to go to heaven to be with Him. End of story. And not go to hell. So, this is the model of the Earth, actually, that has been designed for centuries, and centuries and centuries, oddly enough, okay? Where you see, basically, the flat Earth model as per the Bible, which is pretty interesting because, at the bottom, there's hell, there's the abyss, right? I believe in hell because I'm a Christian, the Bible says so. I also believe in hell, ladies and gentlemen, because, the ancient Greeks mentioned it. They call it Hades. So type in flat Earth biblical model, right? What do you see? You see this. You see the waters above. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. Let's start at the top. You see God above in the heavens. You see the waters above the firmament. You see the firmament. You see what's in it, meaning the ether, meaning the sun, moon, and stars. You see the clouds. You see Earth, the flat Earth, right? You see Sheol here, meaning hell, okay? The place where the dead reside who have been cut off from God. You see the foundations of the earth as the Bible describes it. Okay? And then, of course, you see something called here storehouses and foundations of the great deep. Alright? Here's another model here. As you can see right here. Pretty interesting stuff. So, check it all out. This is important because the moment people realize we do not live in ladies and gentlemen, we do not live in a geocentric society. We do not live in a heliocentric world. We live in a geocentric world. You're going to realize you are at the center of the so-called universe, and you have been robbed of your true identity because your identity is that you have been made in the image and likeness of God, and you have been put on this earth to do wonderful, amazing things for God's glory because God became man so that man might become God. End of story. That is the truth. Believe it. And ye shall be set free. So, basically, I'm going to have to do a next broadcast on Cyprus. There's a lot of things going on right now in Greece with regards to Cyprus, but because of limited time, I'm not going to really cover it too much. I'll probably cover it in a subsequent show for UCY.tv. But anyway, I had to go over all those topics, ladies and gentlemen, because it's such a huge topic. Okay? So, what has taken place recently on the part of the government and the media with regards to the Flat Earth conspiracy? Well, in 1958, okay, if you remember, way back then, Admiral Robert Byrd was releasing his final findings about Antarctica to the government, right? The government freaks out. They get together with top nations in the UN, and they found the Antarctic Treaty, right? What do they say? No one's ever going to have the right to go to Antarctica. Isn't that something? Okay? So, that's pretty interesting. So since then, no one has ever been able to go to Antarctica. Doesn't that tell you something about what they're trying to hide there? Okay? Remember, Robert Byrd, too, about a decade prior, had described one of his missions there, okay, to neutralize Nazi bases, as quite interesting because he saw his own planes flying into an invisible shield. Some people say that was Nazi technology. In my opinion, and from what the evidence shows, that was none other than the edge of the dome, okay, that's over there. And if you look at tons of Hollywood movies out there, they get into that, which is pretty, shocking. There's tons of Hollywood movies that hint that there is a dome that covers us and that it ends right there in Antarctica, meaning that's the edge of the earth and so on and so forth. How that all basically works, I don't know. I've never been there. But from what I read in the Bible, from what the evidence shows, from what the government and the media and Hollywood hint at, from some of the evidence that we have, there is a dome here. Robert Byrd is saying his planes are crashing into an invisible shield. So, zoom forward to 2016. What's taking place? Why, a gigantic awakening to the flat Earth, which is pretty amazing. Everyone is researching the flat Earth. Okay? They're freaking out. It's been going on for several years now. What does the government do? They freak out again, so what do? It was around, I believe, the middle of 2016. I know it was in 2016 where they renew the Treaty of Antarctica. Isn't that something? In the midst of millions of people researching the flat Earth, the U.S. government and, of course, United Nations decide to renew the Antarctic Treaty. Make it even now more, impossible for anyone to go there and research. And don't forget, it was John Kerry himself who, the night of the elections last year, decides to take a nice little trip to Antarctica. Don't forget that world leaders have been going there for the past about couple years, including the Russian Orthodox Patriarch Cyril. Very interesting, to say the least. So, my point is here, the media, the government, they're reacting, they're responding to the flat Earth awakening, and they're taking measures to make sure that people don't wake up to it. But they can't, because the flat Earth is here, and for that matter, since day one, meaning from creation up until today, and they cannot hide it anymore, okay? And it's amazing how so many Hollywood movies are just hinting at it. I mean, you have Stephen King making his series, The Dome, okay? The Dome series, okay? I mean, that's just crazy, all right? You could check that out. And anyway, we are GreekNewsOnDemand.com. Check out our website. I want to thank everyone for listening in today. Please tune in to this show, which is going to be played, of course, this Saturday on UCY.tv, okay? www.ucy.tv, and that will be this Saturday, the 15th of July. This is John Contreras with Greek News on Demand, signing out for UCY.tv. Thank you.
This is Ozzy Skateboard, and you're listening to UCY.tv.